my life, I'm a lot like you were. Old man, look at my life, 24 and there's so much more. Live alone in a paradise that makes me think of two. Love lost, such a cost. Give me things that don't get lost, like a coin that won't get tossed, rolling home to you. Lullabies, look in your eyes, run around the same old town. Doesn't mean that much to me, to mean that much to you. I've been first and last, look at how the time goes past, but I'm all alone at last, rolling home to you. My life, I'm a lot like you were. Old man, look at my life, I'm a lot like you were. Old man, look at my life, 24 and there's so much more. Live alone in a paradise that makes me think of two. Love lost, such a cost. Give me things that don't get lost, like a coin that won't get tossed, rolling home to you.
conversations I've had with him have honestly like affected me in some pretty big ways. I'd say that counts. And another really fond memory I have is when he did the marathon in Minneapolis. We stayed at Liza and Mark's. And he just looked so happy, and it made me happy when he was running. It was cute. I remember when you and Mom went to Norway, and I was stuck with him and Granny for like a week or whatever. I have so many memories of being at the lake with him, and him either like scraping up seaweed from like near the dock, or being just absolutely disgusted by the amount of body hair he had, or just his toenails. So gross, but as I got older, I think I've gotten to more appreciate his sense of humor and just him as a person. One time this is when I first started liking Marilyn Manson. I was talking to him and Terrell in the kitchen, and I was like, I think Marilyn Manson's a smart guy, and he was like, yeah, he is, and he just like went on this long rant about it, and I was just like, you're so cool. And I've talked to him about music a lot, and he knows what he's talking about, and he's just super badass on the bass. I love it. It's so cool. And all my friends think that it's really cool that he plays the bass, and he's just, yeah. Happy 70th birthday, Grampy. Never lose yourself in your old age, please, because that would stink.
I just kind of like him in general. I like how he's funny all the time, and, you know, stuff that he always does. Being himself and being funny and doing all the things that he does. Like all the times that we always have like parties at like Granny and Grampy's house, he's always just like, awesome. I remember swimming with him, and just I remember how funny he was, and he's the awesomest Grampy ever. I like that he gets up early in the morning, and he's very silly. I remember when we were watching the fireworks. That's what I remember about him. He's a very good Grampy, and I like him. That he's very lovable. I love you, Grampy. That he's funny. He's dope singing. That he almost could do the switch all the way down. Because he takes me places. Grampy's the best Grampy in the world. Because he's silly. Well, I remember the time that we were like all swimming with him, and then everyone tried to stay away from him just because he had his filthy toenails. Then he was just like, and then he kept on getting close to everyone, so they were just like, ah! Oh, he's horrible at drawing. I just had to say, maybe he should get drawing classes. Please tell Grampy not to take any offense in this, but he kind of needs drawing classes. They had a drawing contest of drawing me when, and so his picture of me was like a preschooler's drawing without any freckles, and it actually just, and I nearly felt offended at how bad I looked. One drawing contest is when Amelia and me were the judges, and we were trying to draw an owl. And he drew, I think it was like a circle with 2 dots for the eyes. And he said, all done! and then we said, that's not an owl. And then you're just like, it's abstract. He does inappropriate things on his paper.
Happy 70th birthday. May it be the best birthday ever.
Hope your birthday is anything but vanilla.
So when Eric and I started dating, I was pretty worried about, people know who the Baileys are, so I was kind of worried about getting to know the Baileys and making sure I behaved appropriately. And so anyway, I was pretty anxious about it. And I remember going over to the Baileys. I think this was the first time I went over there, or one of the first times I went over there. And Dick was in the kitchen, and he yelled, "Who threw this away?" He was looking in the trash can. And he pulled out a chunk of cheese with mold on it. And he said, "This is perfectly good cheese." And he cut off the cheese and then proceeded to eat the cheese. And so that's kind of when I knew it was okay to be myself around the Baileys. And then that summer, we were all hanging out at the lake, and they had this big old-fashioned glider sitting on the patio. And Margie was sitting on the patio, and Dick was sitting at her feet eating cheese. This cheese wasn't taken from the trash can. And he put some of the cheese between her toes and said, "Hey, look, toe cheese," and then proceeded to eat that cheese as well. So I guess it could be said that Dick is a little bit cheesy. So, and then the other thing about Dick that cracks me up, number one, he's always trying to tell jokes, which are usually horrible puns that are hard to figure out or lame. And once in a while I actually try and create puns with him unsuccessfully, as his puns are, so that's okay. It's all good. And then Dick has a tendency to say some things over and over and over again. And they sit in your head, and they come out at the weirdest times, and sometimes inappropriate times. So the most common one coming through my head is every time we eat pancakes, I hear in my head Dick saying, "Syrup on that!" And what's another one? "Chips free! Dinner extra!" And "Hello!" And "Talahaya!" And there's a whole bunch of other ones too, which I can't think of right now. So anyway, that's it. Happy birthday, Dick.
Oh, let's see. There's so many things that I like about my dad. So, he's always been there, and I think one of the things I've always appreciated about him is how consistent he is with his approach to relationships and people and discussions, and usually there aren't a lot of surprises with my dad. So. And I think it's interesting. I think one of the things that I've taken with him as his son, or taken from him as his son, is sort of an ability to step back from a variety of situations and try and listen as much as I can before I come to any conclusions. So there's something to be said about sort of that strong silence that can happen. And I think it just reminds me of times when I was growing up. The strong silence would come through in a number of different ways, and half the time I think it may have been due to sleep deprivation, because he might have been on call or whatever the case might have been. So I remember one time Matt and I were what were we watching? Something on television, like Hong Kong Phooey or some goofy show, and my dad was there on the couch and kind of sitting like this, doing the head bob thing, and Matt and I were like, "Dad, come on, Hong Kong Phooey's on." And he's like, "Dad," we're like, "Dad, wake up." And he's like, "I'm resting my eyes." So he had this ability to be asleep but awake at the same time, which was I think a finely honed skill. So, but he's got a wonderful sense of humor. So, and that comes out in so many different ways, and sometimes it's totally over the top, and other times it's pretty overt. But to give you an example, so here's a good sort of a cross between just his goofy sense of humor, and then sometimes his blissful obliviousness to what's actually coming out of his mouth. So Matt and I were probably 7 and 9, so we were living on the north side. And so it's the 70s, so we just watched this show In Search Of, and it was about Sasquatch and Bigfoot. So, Matt, being the 9-year-old he is, goes up to my dad and says, Dad, how long do you think it would take Bigfoot to get to Fargo from Washington? And rather than saying, there's no such thing as Bigfoot, my dad sat and thought for a minute. He's like, well, about a 6-foot stride, 1,300 miles. I'd say about 2 weeks. So for the next 2 weeks, my brother Matt looked out the front window and expected to see Sasquatch appearing at any moment. He couldn't sleep for 2 weeks until he was finally reassured that Sasquatch was definitely not coming. So there are definitely things like that are very enduring qualities and things that I'll always appreciate about him. So again, I mean there are so many things and musicianship, playing in the band with him in the past year or so has been wonderful, a great opportunity. So it's great to be a part of his 70th birthday. I can't believe it's been another 10 years since we had a big shindig, but here we are. So here's to another 10 more.
Well, let's see. I think that some of my most vivid memories of my dad, I feel like this is a eulogy. He's actually still alive. Which is a good thing. I would say that one of the coolest memories I have of him was, and this just epitomizes his sense of humor, was one time when I was having a sleepover with a friend, and we both decided to play a trick on him, and we had these candies that were like super hot fireball type candies, and they also turned your mouth blue, like completely blue. And so we thought that would be quite funny, and that he would have just this kind of hilarious response. But of course, when he started sucking on the thing, it was a candy that you were supposed to chew it. You were supposed to chew the candy, but of course he just sucked on the thing, and he had no response at all. He just was like, the whole time, and we were like expecting him to like, oh, it's hot. And he was just like, so he knows when he's trying to be tricked, and so yeah, that was good. Some of the other cool things about my dad is that I'm just thinking of memory things. I have really vivid memories of this is cliche, but tossing the softball back and forth in the backyard. So those are really good memories. And also, I remember the cowboy outfit, and I'm guessing Eric already mentioned that, and Matt will probably mention that too. But yeah, the cowboy outfit was quite the get up, and he would change into that every day when he got back from work, and it consisted of torn up jeans and a shirt that was basically meant to be on a cowboy, but maybe he thought he was a cowboy, I don't know. And then one of the other awesome memories I have of my dad is riding with him in the cattle jack, listening to Steely Dan on the 8-track. Great memory. So, but honestly, in general, I just have such awesome thoughts about him because he's been a supportive piece of my life at just about every point in my life, and I really can't say enough about that. So I can't imagine not having him there, and I'm just really glad that he is who he is, and he's been a part of my life, so that's awesome. Oh yeah. Happy 70th birthday.
One time I remember being in the backseat of the car with Eric and Nate was sleeping, and we were driving somewhere near Duluth. It was nighttime, and I think Eric had been watching outside the window and seeing how on this two-lane highway Occasionally cars with their bright lights would come past and pass us on the opposite side. But he asked my dad if my dad ever thought about veering into the lights as they were coming at the car. And my dad actually said, "Yes, I do." And it was, quite surprising, and not completely surprising. I don't think we freaked out or anything, but it was just funny how honest and upfront Dad would be with questions like that.
Hello. Hi, Dickie. I just wanted to let you know that I'm standing in front of what was our wonderful old house that we built together. You are the greatest gift of my life. You are the love of my life. All these things are just things, and they're kind of ethereal, and now it's gone. But you're here, and I'm here, and I'm just here to say I love you very, very much. You've been my husband for 47 years. I want to say happy anniversary. I want to say happy 70th birthday. And most importantly of all, I want to say happy retirement, because I can hardly wait for the rest of our life together. So I'll see you for the next stage of our life, every day of our lives, and I really, really can hardly wait. I love you so much.